Hi and welcome to PMCLounge.com. This important topic comes right out of the PMP exam content outline. The question is important, it is interesting, it has a backstory related to it. How is the PMP exam designed? Who designed it? How was it designed? And who basically came up with the idea of having 200 questions for 4 hours? How was this done? That is the topic of the video. So there's something which is known as RDS, and there is a story of the RDS. So sit back, relax while I walk you through this story of the RDS. RDS, by the way, stands for Role Delineation Study. So there was a study which was done based on which the exam was designed. So the first step that PMI took while developing the PMP exam or any other certification exam for that matter is to define the responsibilities of the recipient of the credential. So somebody who is going to receive the PMP credential, what are their responsibilities? That is the first thing you need to define. Now, it must be known what the individuals who lead and direct projects, since we are talking about a project management certification here, so individuals who lead and direct projects actually do on the job before a content valid test can be developed. So before you can develop a test, you need to know what the individuals who are leading and directing projects are actually doing on the job. And how do you do that? So the PMP exam, it draws questions from every important area of the profession and specifies that the domains, right? You have different domains, right? The domains considered are more important, critical, and relevant be represented by more questions on the examination. So the different domains or the performance areas of project management, the ones which are more important, which are more critical, they need to have more questions out of the 200 questions that belong to the PMP exam. So this was also something which was pondered upon. Now, in the beginning of 2014, PMI, which is the Project Management Institute, they commissioned a role delineation study, RDS, for the PMP credentials. So this was done in 2014. Before 2014, there was nothing known as RDS. So there was a RDS, a study which was commissioned. Now the task force here means the ones, the people, the folks who are responsible for this study, they represented diversity in terms of geography, industry, job position, and experience. So it was a diversified task force. It had people from all walks of life. The participants for this RDS, they reached a consensus on the performance domains, a broad category of duties and responsibilities that define the role, as well as the tasks required for competence performance and knowledge or skills needed to perform those tasks. So it is important to consider here, and it is important to read the last point again. What all did the folks, what all was the task force responsible for the RDS? What all did they agree upon? So they agreed upon performance domains. They had the consensus on performance domains. That's point number one. Then they had consensus on a broad category of duties and responsibilities that define the role. What role are we talking about here? Of course, the project manager role. So this was the second thing that they agreed upon. The tasks required for competence performance and the knowledge and skills needed to perform those tasks. So what are the knowledge and skills needed to perform those tasks, and what are those tasks? So these are the four things that the team, the task force which led out to do this study, they had a consensus on. So these are the four things the PMP exam is based on. Now, the task force, they did their study, right? And they came up and they had a consensus on everything. But how do you validate that the study done by the task force is up to the mark, is something which represents the real world? So how do you validate the entire role delineation study? So this was actually done, and for validity of the study and content outline developed by the panels, which is the panels here refers to the task force, there was a survey requesting feedback on the panel's work was sent to project management practitioners throughout the world. And in the next point, you'll see how elaborate this was. So surveys were distributed to thousands of project managers around the world. PMI received a robust set of responses to the survey with participants from 96 countries. So do you see the importance here? Do you see how critical this is? First, PMI formed a task force. They conducted extensive study, and then to validate the conclusion of the study, the PMI sent out surveys which got responses which had participants from 96 countries representing every major industry. This is also very important because a lot of people think PMP is all about the software industry, which is wrong. The validation of the RDS, this represented 96 countries and every major industry. Now, with this, the statistical significance was something that PMI gained, and based on this, they drawn conclusions about the criticality for competent performance and the frequency of the tasks. And when we say competent performance and when we say frequency of the tasks, we are talking about project managers. The performance, the competent performance required by the project managers, the frequency of the tasks that project managers perform. So this was basically concluded based on the statistical uh, information that was received through the survey. So practitioners, they also rated the knowledge and skills on how essential they were to their work as project managers and when they were acquired. So this is something which was also rated as part of this survey. By the way, a lot of people ask us where and what books to buy for the PMP preparation. So here's a link, pmclounge.com/resources. Now, coming to the main question, designing the PMP exam. So based on the respondent ratings, so based on the survey that was sent out, an examination blueprint which clarified exactly how many questions from each domain and tasks should be on the examination. This was something which was developed. So the respondent ratings and the RDS. So RDS study was done, and then the respondents they rated it. So the examination blueprint was developed, and this examination blueprint clarified exactly how many questions from each domain and tasks should be on the examination. The results of this study indicated that 175 scoreable questions on the test should be distributed among the domains as shown in the following table. So there's a table which we are going to discuss in the next slide. Remaining 25 questions, if you don't already know, PMP has 200 questions. So 175 are scoreable questions, while 25 questions, these are dispersed throughout the domains, the different project management domains, and these are pre-test questions, and these will not be counted in the candidate's scores. So this is important to note, there are 25 questions which are not counted towards the candidate's scores, and you as an aspirant, you as a PMP candidate will not know which these 25 questions are. The pretest items, why are they there? So they allow PMI to monitor the question performance better prior to including the questions in the final data bank of the test questions. So this is basically a survey of sort that PMI does with every candidate that takes up the PMP exam. Now let's look the following table that we talked about. How many questions come from which domain in the PMP exam? So this is it. Initiating, 13% out of 200 questions will be from initiating. Planning, 24%. Executing, 31%. Monitoring and controlling, 25%. Closing, 7%. all of these numbers are based on the study done by the task force and then validated by project managers across the world. So total number of scored questions 175, total number of unscored questions, which are also known as pre-test, because remember PMI is testing the candidates on how they are answering these questions, and before these questions make to the final data question bank, they are included in the PMP exam. The total number of questions, of course, 200 total questions. So that's all that we had in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something more about the PMP exam. Hit the like button if you did so, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload our next video. Do check out the website pmclounge.com, your number one free PMP resource. Thank you.